Welcome back to the show. Environmental news lately has been pretty grim. Of course, I'm talking about this weekend's release of the documentary Geostorm, where, according to the poster, Gerard Butler just stands in front of a tsunami with his daughter. Father of the Year. But speaking of great dads, President Trump sucks on the environment like it's a Russian hooker's toes.
The president's executive order scraps 6 Obama-era actions aimed at tackling climate change, scrapping regulations that make it tougher to mine coal on federal lands, and no longer forcing the government to consider the cost of climate change when making policy decisions.
Of course, the president can't carry out these executive orders alone. I mean, my God, he can barely remember to sign executive orders alone. Oh, buddy, come back. You forgot to draw your squiggle. So that's why POTUS hired this guy, EPA administrator and guy borrowing Rick Perry's smart glasses, Scott Pruitt.
It was wrong for the last administration to declare a war on coal.
It was a real war, and the president said the war is over.
Who won the war on coal? Was it Christmas? When coal pacifist Pruitt took over the EPA, the changes within the agency were immediate, drastic, and, I'm sorry, do you smell something burning?
EPA Chief Scott Pruitt signed a proposed rule to begin withdrawing from the so-called Clean Power Plan.
The Clean Power Plan aimed to cut pollution from existing power plants 32% by 2030. Oh my God, that's a good idea. Whose was it? Oh, remember that guy? If only the white half of Obama had thought of it.
By 2030, it said there would be 90,000 fewer asthma attacks a year, 300,000 fewer missed work and school days, and 3,600 fewer premature deaths a year. Without the Clean Power Plan, how are you going to prevent those terrible things?
The president is keeping his promise to the American people to roll back regulatory overreach.
There are 166 million people living in unclean air, and you're going to remove some of the pollution restrictions, which will make the air even worse.
As much as we want to see progress made with clean air and clean water, we have to do so within the framework of what Congress has passed.
That is the slimiest excuse I've ever heard. That's like a dirtbag telling his wife he's not the boss of his own dick. Look, as much as I want to see progress made and you not getting cheated on, I have to do so within the framework of my mistress's pussy. Scott Pruitt was very familiar with the EPA before getting this job because he spent the Obama years trying to destroy it.
Scott Pruitt has sued the EPA 14 times as Oklahoma's Attorney General, mostly challenging pollution regulations.
So at one point, Pruitt was technically suing himself, which is a great premise for a Hannah Montana episode, but terrible for the country. Putting Pruitt in charge of the EPA was like letting the fox in the hen house. I'm sorry. For future viewers, foxes and hens were two animals that lived on Earth before climate change rendered them extinct. Pruitt is just a regular Joe from Oklahoma, a land of simple values, simple farms, and simply one of America's largest fossil fuel economies. And not shockingly, this gas-tastic Okie decided to gut his science advisory board, presumably because they were advising him to do some science. But Pruitt already has all the advisors he needs, mining executives.
On Monday, May 1st, the CEO of Pebble Limited Partnership asked newly appointed EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt to withdraw environmental restrictions on Alaska's Bristol Bay, little more than an hour after Pruitt met with the mining CEO. EPA staffers were shocked to receive this email. We have been directed by the administrator to withdraw the restrictions.
Holy shit! Just 1 hour to fuck over Alaskan waters? That's only half as long as Paul Ryan's daily self-hating exercise regimen. I'm a big boy. I'll stand up to him tomorrow. When asked about this suspicious timing, here's how the mining company's CEO responded.
You know, the optics on this look...
The optics on this are right. They don't look bad a bit.
Bad. This looks like a head of a gold mine went into the new administrator and got him to reverse what an entire department had worked on for years.
Then put your glasses back on, because you're not seeing the right optics.
No, you take your glasses off, Sally Jesse Raphael. Have you been drinking your own mining slurry? The optics are bad because the thing itself is bad. Okay. So the guy in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency is stabbing the environment with a deregulation shiv. That is the worst kind of shiv. So what can we do about that? Nothing. We missed our chance because third-party voters couldn't hold their noses and make a responsible choice. We're stuck with this tall drink of poison water. I mean, look, we cannot stop Pruitt from killing the Clean Power Plan, but we can be jerks about it. Sometimes your jerk stick is the only thing you got left in your toolbox. If any American submits a request for a hearing on this rule change before October 31st, Pruitt has to hold one. We don't know for how long or where it will be held, but I do know that if enough patriotic Americans show up that day, Scott Pruitt will be so fucking annoyed. And so, consider this our official full frontal request for a hearing on the Clean Power Plan, the big Alaska despoiling fuck. Warmly, Samantha B. That was a real request. Now you have to do it. We will be right back.